Welcome to tradinginanutshell.com. My name's David Jennings and we're joined here with Stuart McPhee, the author of Trading in a Nutshell.
Hi, Dave.
Thanks for coming down. We've actually got something pretty exciting that we want to talk about in a moment, but for those who don't know much about Stuart McPhee, I just wanted to help people find out a little bit more about how you got started with your trading. And I know, looking back historically, I think your real trading began even before you started trading, if you know what I mean. Back when you used to do some work with the US military. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I was a full-time Army officer in the Australian Army, so I graduated from the Royal Military College Duntroon, but later on in my career I was selected as an exchange instructor with the US Army, so I went over to the US, El Paso, Texas for 2 years, and I was an instructor every day and teaching people, certainly not about trading, but more about being officers and what they had to do in their role once they went out to the US Army. So.
And I think it's funny how much crossover there is from, things that you learnt while sort of working with the US military to
Sure.
trading.
Yes.
What are those sort of things? I think they give you an edge.
No doubt. So obviously discipline is probably the biggest one. Being organised, structured, following a plan, doing things even though you don't want to do them, but having the discipline and structure and following the plan to do it even though you don't want to, and all those things, they all encapsulate trading perfectly. So yeah, there's quite a few things that have really helped me, no doubt.
And I know after you left the Army, then very early on in your career, you actually brought out Trading in a Nutshell, the book,
Yes, yes.
which came out and was quite successful.
Yes, yeah.
And I know that generated a bit of interest on a sort of global scale where you started to do some speaking engagements around the world and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I know the second edition of Trading in a Nutshell came out. How did that happen though?
It beats me. I still can't believe. I mean, I was really happy to get the first edition out, and that came out late 2001, right around the September 11, 9/11 terrorist attacks. So the markets were a hot topic at the time because there was a lot of impact from those unfortunate events, and I just couldn't believe getting the first edition. I was rapt. It obviously got well received and did quite well from the bookshelves and sold a lot of copies, and then couldn't believe it when they approached me for a second edition, which came out early 2005. I don't know what to say. I was quite humbled by the support the first edition had got, and couldn't believe when they approached me for a second edition. So wrote a lot more material, things that I'd learned, and put that in the second edition, and that's what happened.
I know, again, it even was more of a springboard for you for the second edition. You really did get quite a lot of demand for speaking engagement. Where are some of the places that you've spoken?
Obviously impacted on a lot of people. The book obviously resonated with people. I've obviously done a lot of Australian gigs at expos and just recently over in New Zealand, and but more afield just recently. I've as far west as Mumbai in India, and been to China, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam. Just been a fantastic experience over the last few years to travel to some of these different countries and have the opportunity to speak to traders from other parts of the world, which has just been terrific. It's been a great experience. And
I think really that leads us to why, that exciting thing that I hinted at the start of this video, why we're getting together now. I know Trading in a Nutshell has just come out in the third edition, which is hugely exciting and very rare for a book to come out in the third edition unless it's having significant impact. And
obviously is, I can't believe it. Yeah, couldn't believe when they asked me for a third edition. So
tell me, what's changed since second edition came out?
Probably I've done a lot more work on the mindset. I think from the first edition to now, I've coached a lot of people. I've been into people's homes and sat down with them, and they poured it out emotionally and told me about all the issues and challenges and obstacles they face. So I guess I went through those myself, but it made it more real for me when I heard it from someone else. And I've just had the opportunity, and certainly the last few years, travelling to all these places to speak to all these traders from all over the world. And one thing I've learned, which was a real eye-opener for me, is you go to all these other countries and the stock exchanges have a different name, and all the companies are different, obviously, different company names and everything else. But apart from that, it's all the same. All the issues and obstacles and challenges we face here, all of them face exactly the same. They go through the same challenges and trying to develop a methodology and the mindset and trying to manage risk and set stops and cut losses and all these things that we go through. They go through exactly the same things, and that was a real eye-opener for me. I should have expected that, you know, but you think, oh, they're different markets and they go through different cycles. All the challenges we face, they have faced. So that was a real eye-opener for me, and just getting down and speaking to all these people from other countries and everything. So I guess with the third edition, what I've tried to do is, I think a lot of people accept having a trading plan is essential. They just don't know how to put one together or what to put in it. So I've spent a lot more time on that, on the components of a plan and what to put in, and don't get confused with that, and make sure you fit this part in here. And so I spent a lot more time on that. And probably the other issue I see a lot of people struggling with is confusing timeframes. So they're not sure whether to adopt a short-term style or approach or a medium-term, so they end up confusing and actually mixing and matching. So they'll use the short-term analysis so far as trends and reversal signals, but then they'll use stops, which are probably more appropriate to trading medium-term trends, and vice versa. So their analysis may be right, but they just have wrong exits, and something as simple as that costs them a lot of money and they never make any money. So just simple things like that and confusing time frame, which is such a simple thing, but I've spent a bit of time talking about that as well, and the mindset and the various parts of putting a plan together. So that's probably the big differences, and I guess that just comes from my time coaching a lot of people, speaking to a lot of people, and going through those things myself.